Good morning, everybody. I am live for the first time in a little while. I think it's been a couple of weeks since I went live. So yeah, long time no see. If you are watching live, it is great to have you. I'm just going to wait a little bit until I can see some people jumping on. Say hello if you're here. I know for some of you it's a work day and you may not be able to catch me live, but you can watch the replay. As always, I will be uploading to my Facebook page, my demonstrator Facebook page. So yes, if you didn't catch me live, you can watch it at your leisure. This little video that I'm about to share with you. I have been playing with one of the new stamp sets from the annual catalogue, which came out last month. This stamp set is called Pure Magic. And I will confess to you that I mainly got this stamp set for the dragon image, which I think is pretty awesome. But all the images are pretty cool, and they're really fun to colour in, especially with our Stampin Blends, our alcohol-based markers. So yeah, if you've got the set, you'll be able to pick and choose what image you might want to pair with each of the greetings. It is actually really good too, because pretty much all of the greetings go with all of the images. So you'll see there's a birthday one, there's some encouragement ones, and there's, you know, I'm just thinking of you and how amazing you are type greetings there. Excuse me. And you'll be able to mix and match all of those with the images as well, or even just use the images by themselves or the greetings by themselves, depending on what sort of cards you're wanting to make. Hi Jeanette, good to see you. I'm glad that you could join us live. So today, as I said, I'm going to be using the Stampin Blends alcohol-based markers. So I'm going to stamp my dragon image in Memento ink to start with, and that's going to give me a nice outline to colour in. And I just wanted to share, and maybe it's a new technique for you. I'm not sure if you have tried mixing different colours together with your Stampin' Blends. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a tickle in my throat. I'm just going to have a little sip of my coffee. So if you have not tried this, I'm going to give you a few hints and tips on how to blend with your markers. Now, when you're blending different colours together, first rule of thumb is, we'll obviously always start off with Memento ink. The second rule is to start off with the palest colour first. So I'm actually going to switch these around. So I'm going to start off with the Daffodil Delight blends, and I'm going to just do a few accents on my dragon, because it's definitely going to be a multicolored dragon. And I'm just going to start off by adding a couple of dots, just single dots, with the pen tip of my Stampin' Blend. And I'm just going to take the dots sort of about halfway along the dragon's body. And I'm also going to use the yellow, just to touch a little bit of it into the scales on her back. And I'm using the dark Stampin' Blend, the Daffodil Delight, first of all. And then I'm going to come in again with the pen tip as opposed to the brush tip. And I'm just going to put a second dot of the Daffodil Delight just next to where I put the first dot with the darker shade. It's going to be really subtle, but you will notice that there's a little bit of light and shade. And the reason we're starting off with the softer color is because we're going to come in with the darker colors and just kind of layer them and blend them together a little bit. So I don't know if you can see my dots there? It's just really subtle. So I'm just building the color on. My next color that I'm going to go with is going to be on the wings. And there'll be a few accents on her body. And this is the Fresh Freesia, which is a lovely purple color. It's one of our in color Stampin Blends. Incidentally, we have all of our new in colors being offered in the Stampin Blends. So you can get the Tahitian Tide, the Parakeet Party, etc. There's 5 different colors. So we're going to be using the Tahitian Tide as well. But let's just go with our Fresh Freesia, which is from last year's in color. I'm using the dark one, and I'm just going to start up the top of the wing, just in that shaded bit. I'm going to come in about, it's probably about 1/3 of a centimeter down from each of the lines that shape the wing. And I'm mainly concentrating, as I said, in that top third, I guess, of the shadow part. So the shadows on this stamp actually tell you where you are supposed to concentrate most of your dark color. So you can let the stamp dictate where you're adding the color. And if you're using a darker blend, I would definitely go up the top, because you can see the lighter part of each wing is actually down the bottom of each segment. So that's where you want the color to be the lightest on the wings, if that makes sense. You're going with the artwork of the stamp, which makes it a little bit easy when you're not as confident with coloring and shading. The great thing is that Stampin' Up! Stamps do most of the hard work for you. Okay, so that's my dark Fresh Freesia, and now I'm coming on with my light Fresh Freesia, and I'm just going to blend that out for the next, probably the next third of that wing in that shadow area. Just blending along. You'll see that's a little bit of a softer color and it's a bit more subtle on the wing there. So just go along each segment so you've got a little bit of that softer Fresh Freesia. There it is. And now, and I'm actually going to do the horns, because they're also in Fresh Freesia. So come on with the dark, and I'll do the tail, and I'll also do her feet, just taking it a little way up. This is the dark Fresh Freesia, and then I'll blend that out with the light again, just using that brush tip. So just finish colouring in her horns and the tip of the tail, so you can see a nice shadow there now, and just taking the legs up just as far as where the body starts. And the rest of her, there's a little bit of Fresh Freesia on her eyelid as well. She's got a bit of eyeshadow happening. There we go. So that's all the Fresh Freesia done. And then the last bit that I'm going to colour in is with the Tahitian Tide. And I'm again taking my cue from the stamp image where her scales are accentuated. You can see there's a few scales that have been drawn on the body. I'm actually going to use the dark Fresh Freesia to highlight those, to accentuate those. So keep that concentrated where all of those lines are. And then the rest of her body is, you guessed it, the light Fresh Freesia. Sorry, not Fresh Freesia, Tahitian Tide. And I'm just going in, I might use my paintbrush end for this because this is quite a large surface area. But what you want to do is come in and just glide the tip around where you've already placed the Daffodil Delight blend. You're not going to go over the top. you're just leaving space for those 2 dots that you have already put on, and you'll start to see the colours blending together a little bit, but you'll still be able to see that Daffodil Delight colour. It's almost like shining through now. It almost looks like it's glowing. That's given her some lovely highlights. So just float the colour on, and you're blending out the dark Tahitian Tide as you go. Okay, so you'll notice that where the Tahitian Tide meets the purple, it sort of blends in and it becomes a new colour. It's really cool. And again, on the wings, I'm going to get my dark Fresh Freesia with the small, not Fresh Freesia, Tahitian Tide, I keep calling it the wrong colour. I'm just going to blend out along where I've put the pale Fresh Freesia, and you'll start to see a new colour emerging as these 2 colours blend. The thing about alcohol ink is that it blends beautifully and seamlessly. You don't see any of the lines, any of the strokes, if you like, the brush strokes. All you see is a lovely blending of colour. So that's the dark, and then you just want to come in for the final sweep with the light Tahitian Tide and just blend that out into the rest of the wing. Just filling in all of that white. So you get this lovely flowing colour, this rainbow effect across the whole image. Love it. Oh, and there's some more little scales there that I didn't capture. There's always more detail in this stamp than I think there's going to be. I love this stamp set. I've just touched a little bit of the Daffodil Delight in there, and you can see now she's coming to life a little bit more. Love all those colours together. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut her out, not in front of you guys. I've actually just used my paper snips. The area that I have left is the bits in between her legs, but the rest of it I've cut around, and I've left about 1 millimetre of the basic white cardstock around the shape. So don't be afraid of doing that. If it's going to make your cutting easier. So that's ready to go. I've got a base card here of Tahitian Tide, so that's going to become my base card, and I'll just leave that there for a second. I'm going to bring in 2 dies. I have a circle die from the Layering Circles Framelits dies, and I'm using the Tahitian Tide glimmer paper, which comes in 6x6 pack with all of the in colours, and you'll notice that this is an ombre pattern on the glimmer paper, and it makes a really nice accent on a card. So I'm using one of the circles. I think it's one of the middle-sized circles. Oops, didn't mean to move that. Sorry, making you guys dizzy. There we go. Let's just fix this up. Okay, so I've got my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'm also using one of the decal edged dies. These are new dies, and I love the effect of these because they give you a really random, it almost looks like it's been torn, and you can add some extra effects to the decal edge, which I am going to do. So I've got these 2 to cut out. I'm just going to stick them on my platform here and run them both through at once on my standard sized Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Just pop the plate over the top. Yeah, so the decal edge dies, they are all the same shape. They're all rectangles, but they're all different sizes. So you'll be able to layer these on your projects. You can also create what's called a telescope effect with with the pieces. You can create all sorts of different effects. So there's my decal edge. Oops, that didn't quite cut as well as I wanted it to. I can follow the line along with my, lucky it's a decal edge and I don't have to cut straight. Hey, there we go. All right, so that's my decal edge. And here is my circle, which I cut out of that gorgeous glimmer paper. All right, so what we're going to do with the decal edge piece, it's going to be our next layer on our card. I'm going to grab one of the butterflies and flowers layering decorative masks. Now this is the flower mask. This is, incidentally, this whole set of masks is on the retiring list from the current January to June mini catalogue, and you actually get 6 masks in the pack. I think it's around $17.50, so it's brilliant. If you haven't got it in a collection, as far as I know, it's still available. It's while supplies last, so you can add these to an order. Yeah, so I'm just using this as a really subtle background because I wanted to add a little bit of interest to the background. And I'm going to grab the Fresh Freesia ink pad to just add a little tiny bit of colour in the top left-hand corner of my decal edge section. So I'm just, swirling it using my blending brush. Just in one section of your decal edge. And so you'll end up with a really cool kind of looks like it's been spray painted, and that's your mask that's created that effect. Really simple. And around the edge of my decal piece, I'm going to use another blending brush, and I might use Tahitian Tide because this colour is, I guess, one of the main colours in the on the card. Obviously, we've used Tahitian Tide for for the base card. But if you just get your blending brush and grab a little bit of Tahitian Tide and then just layer it around, just swipe it around like this off the edge of your decal, you'll end up accentuating that lovely pattern along the edge. And it also helps to frame whatever it is we're going to be putting on top, which I'll show you in a minute. So just go around until you're happy with the amount of ink. You know, you might put less, you might put more, but you can see how that's really accentuated that shape. It is a really random shape, so I think it fits with the storybook fantasy theme that we're creating on this card. A bit of glimmer, a little bit of an interest in the background, and some inking along that decal edge is definitely what it needs. Okay, so we have our dragon that we have cut out. I'm going to pop some dimensionals behind the dragon, so just about 3 or 4 of the large dimensionals is a good amount. You just want to support the shape because parts of it are quite delicate. I might just use a smaller dimensional, one of the half-size ones, and pop that on the tail there. So I've used 4 big ones and 1 smaller one. And I'm going to pop it looks a bit like a moon actually, now that I've cut this into a circle. I'm going to pop the moon shape just up the top where I've concentrated my stenciling, my mask. Just a little tiny bit of the Tombow glue. Leaving room at the top. I'm going to leave a little bit of room for the greeting, so don't put it too far up. And I'm just going to take the backings off the dimensionals and sit my dragon down on the bottom right corner so that the wings are a little bit, they're partially on the circle. And now for my greeting, I'm going to use Pacific Point. I know I haven't used that at any point on this card, but it does actually coordinate with all the colours. And it's a little bit darker than the Tahitian Tide. I'm going to make this one into a birthday card. There were several different greetings that I could have chosen from that set. If you have a look, I could have said, let your dreams have wings, I believe in you, you're pure magic, but I'm going to use the birthday stamp because we often need birthday cards. And I'm just going to stamp that right up the top in the center. And that is all done. Then the only thing left for me to do is to put a little tiny bit of the Tombow glue on the back. And then stick that onto my base card. Now you'll notice that the decal edge dies actually don't fit exactly our card base size, our A4 C6 size. If you wanted to, you could cut some off your card, either from the top or the bottom, and then slide that up so it's more centered. I don't mind having slightly wider panels top and bottom. I think that looks okay. I'm okay with that. You can let me know what you think. I'm going to bring in some other cards that I have done, just to show you the different colorways of what you can use, what different colors you can use on the dragons. They look equally as nice. So there's my Tahitian Tide one that I've just shown you. The next one I've used some sweet sorbet, and there's a few little accents in the Tahitian Tide, as well as I've used some greens. And you'll notice that the glimmer paper is matching the base card each time. There's another birthday one. I've used the roses, the rose pattern from the masks that time, and I'm pretty sure that is the lovely pink colour, which is part of our last year's In Colours. Can't remember the name. And this is the parakeet party version. I've brought in a little bit of pumpkin pie there and a little bit of green. Notice how the greens all kind of tone in with each other. But again, I think it's that circle that kind of ties everything together because you've got the light and shade, and it just seems to blend all the different colours. So there's all my different colourways for the dragon cards. You could equally colour in the other images the same way using your blends. You could make a rainbow horse. You could, really have fun with the scales on the mermaid as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope it's inspired you to mix and match your blends colours. You don't need to just stick with the one colour when you're colouring. In fact, it makes it a lot more interesting when you blend several colours together. And don't be afraid of starting off with the lightest one and then building up the colour around it so that you see that little bit of light colour peeping through. It really does have a nice effect, especially on multicoloured images like these. I hope you have a creative day. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.